April 2015. It's been 2 years since our inaugural production. 2 years! Well, you know the old adage. Time flies when you're starting a fledgling arts collective. Thank you for being with us tonight as we celebrate the shows we've produced, the issues we've tackled, the connections we've forged, and the friends we've made. All of the successes that have made up the first 2 years of Art for Awareness. It began in spring 2010. Jeff and Rachel Bemrose were in New York with their students and attended a Broadway production that would quite literally change their lives. It was a musical unlike any these seasoned veterans had come across before. They were struck with a desire to bring it here to Peterborough, but could not think of a production company that would take on the financial risk of producing something so heavy, so unusual. When one thinks of musical theater in Peterborough, a rock opera about mental illness doesn't immediately spring to mind. So over coffee one night, beer probably, in early 2013, around their dining room table, Jeff and Rachel pitched this rare musical, the Tony Award-winning Next to Normal, to a few of their closest theater friends, and asked if they could think of any way they could get a production company in Peterborough to put on this show. And they answered, yes, if we start our own. Art for Awareness was born. The 6 people around the table, our founders, became our first board of directors. Jeff and Rachel Bemrose, Brian McDonald, Lindsay Unterlander, Justin Boyd, and Marcella Lukianchuk. That's me. The mandate of the company was to produce high-quality art with a social message. We would entertain, but we would also educate. We wanted to tell the stories that are often overlooked or neglected, so that those people could see themselves reflected in art, maybe for the first time. We wanted to normalize their challenges, so that every audience member would leave the piece feeling empathy and understanding where there may have only been ignorance or fear. Next to Normal was the perfect vehicle to achieve this. So we got to work, and within a few short weeks, we had procured the rights to produce Next to Normal. As rehearsals began, in basements and church sanctuaries, so did the flurry of behind-the-scenes work. Producer Jeff, who was also acting in the show, furiously gathered a production team, and the talented bunch began tackling the technical side of things. Adam Scott CVI proved to be invaluable to us from day one, and the decision was made to stage the show at their auditorium. Sarah Ty and Andrew Root came on board as lighting and projections designers, respectively, and soon it was obvious to the board that they were invaluable to AFA. Unanimously, it was decided that the two should join the board of directors, rounding out what is now our 8-member board. One afternoon in January, incidentally it was Bell Let's Talk Day 2013, I met with Alison Rader of the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario. My goal was to establish community connections with other nonprofits that dealt with the issues the show brought to light, and the Schizophrenia Society seemed the perfect choice. And it was. Alison provided material and information to the actors and director about what it is like to live with mental illness yourself or in your family, as well as the effects and efficacy of modern treatments. She tirelessly promoted the show to her colleagues and clients so that the people who might benefit most from the show's message would hear about it and be able to attend. She put us in touch with other members of the mental health community, ultimately leading to incredible sources of promotion, funding, and networking. Alison lent us her credibility before we had any of our own. She believed in us and in our mandate. She became our biggest advocate and remains our dear friend. Next to Normal was an obvious choice for a company like ours. As I mentioned, it's a rock opera about a woman struggling with mental illness and its effect on her family. Mental health is a topic that is at the forefront of public consciousness right now. The team wanted to make sure that we portrayed these characters in an honest and accurate way. By connecting with Alison and the Schizophrenia Society, we had their expertise through every step. Here is an excerpt from videographer Mike Mooring's footage of the inaugural production from Art for Awareness. This is You Don't Know, I Am the One, from Next to Normal.
We have the happiest garbage man in town.
Jesus, Ty, they were working.
They weren't, really.
Look, we'll get a new round. We'll see Dr. Fine.
No.
Look, Diane, I know this is hard.
You know, really, what exactly do you know?
Well, I know you're hurting. Because I'm hurting too.
Do you wake up in the morning and need help to lift your head? Do you read obituaries and feel jealous of the dead? It's like living on a cliffside, not knowing when I'll die. Do you know what it's like to die? Like everyone's one color, it's white, gray. day by day by day. You don't know what it's like to live that way. Like a refugee, a fugitive, forever on the run. If it gets me, it will kill me, but I don't know what I've done.
Can you tell me what it is you're afraid of? And can I tell you why I'm afraid to leave? Can I touch you? We've been fine for so long now. How can something go wrong that I can't see? 'Cause I'm holding on, and I won't let go. Yeah, I thought you should know. I am the one who loves you. I am the one who cares. I am the one who's always been there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am the one who's helped you. And now you tell me that I don't give a damn. You just don't know who I am. Would you leave me? Would you let me go under?
Why can't you see?
Will you watch as I drown and wonder why? Are you bleeding? Are you bruised? Are you broken?
Like to
Does
live.
it help you to know? Well, so am I. Tell me what to do. Tell me who to be. If I can see what you see, I am the one who holds. I am the one who stays. I am the one who won't walk away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am the one who you. And now you tell me that I won't give a damn. I know you know who I am. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's who I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's who I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's who I am. 'Cause I'm holding on.
Say you hurt my feelings. You say that you know.
I am the one who knows you. I am the one who cares. I am the one who's always been there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am the one who loves you. And now you tell me that I let you go down. Just don't know who I am. Who I am.
You don't know.
Who I am. Just don't know who I am.
Art for Awareness, as its name suggests, aims to raise awareness for social concerns. But rather than just tell a story or cite facts, we think it's more effective when the message is made accessible to all, when audiences from all walks of life can see themselves in the story. Next to Normal did just that. It is a story about mental illness, but also a story about family. It is a story about loss, about hitting rock bottom, and seeking help. Like life, it is peppered with tragedy and with humor. It is a story about love. Love springing from nothing, and love that endures everything. Out of countless comments we received after the run, perhaps one sums up our success at achieving this best.
Promise I make it brand new. The promise that I made to you.
Through our experiences with Next to Normal, we were introduced to the world of mental health organizations and programs in this area. Riding on these new connections, we began work on our second production, our first original piece, the brainchild of director and choreographer Rachel Bemrose and videographer and technical wizard Andrew Root. Erasing the Stigma was a multimedia dance spectacle that hit the stage at Adam Scott CVI October of 2013. This production featured video interviews of people in the Peterborough community living with some form of mental illness, projected, then interpreted artistically through dance and live, often original music. Our goal was to take the words and experiences of real, accessible individuals and use art to move the audience, to evoke a feeling, a true empathic response, in a way that is far more effective than projecting a videotaped interview alone. From videographer Tony Buell's footage, choreographed by Rachel Bemrose and Jen Carter, original score by Blake Richardson, here is Anxiety from Erasing the Stigma.
A few years ago, I was diagnosed with major depression, anxiety disorder, and panic disorder. My panic attacks, sometimes they would come randomly, sometimes I was in a stressful situation. Most of them, if they happen now, or in the past few years, have been in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. So nightmares and stuff like that, I'm affected. It's like you can't breathe them lying there. It's almost as if somebody drives a car and parks it right on your chest, and you cannot feel anything, and you just try and gasp for any type of air, and you can't get anything. It's a horrible feeling. I didn't know how to change it or how to stop it. Major depression, anxiety disorder, panic disorder. Major depression, anxiety disorder, panic disorder. If I was in a stressful situation, as if somebody drives a car and parks it right on your chest. When I'm in a situation. Gasp for any type of air, you can't get any.
Our community partners in the mental health field supported this show from the start. The Human Resource and Justice Coordinating Committee commissioned us to include a piece that reflected the complex relationship between mental health and the justice system. Carrie Davies of the CMHA was inspired to contact Clara's Big Ride and suggest that we be involved somehow when Clara Hughes came through Peterborough as part of the Bell Let's Talk initiative. The outpouring of support was humbling, and we were fortunate to have had an opportunity to give back. As is our mandate, Art for Awareness donates a third of our profits from each production to an organization that we feel embodies the message of that production. From our October production of Erasing the Stigma, we raised over $1,000 for the Lynx Early Psychosis Intervention Program. Allison Radar and Lynx had been with us every step of the way, and it was wonderful to be able to give back. March 2014. Clara Hughes was riding across Canada, sharing her story and continuing the dialogue on mental health. Peterborough was fortunate to have her trek up the 115 in order to speak at Fleming College. Thanks to Carrie Davies, we were asked to perform an abridged version of Erasing the Stigma to open the show. During this time, interviewee, songwriter, singer, and guitar player from Erasing the Stigma, Stacey Reeds, met with Clara and ended up being included in her documentary, taking AFA National. Here is Dig a Little Deeper, music by Blake Richardson and lyrics by Stacey Reeds.
So very lost and could not find her way. She had an illness she could not fight, and I couldn't convince her to stay. Let me paint you a picture of what it's like to be me. Picture of a lost little child just wanting to be free. Dig a little deeper without trying to live or trying to dig a little deeper. We are trying to build. We're trying to build. Dig a little deeper, and you'll find you're not alone. Dig a little deeper. We are trying to build. We're trying to build a home. Dig a little deeper, and you'll find you're not alone. Dig a little deeper. We are trying to build. We're trying to build.
2 months after Claire's big ride, Art for Awareness reprised Erasing the Stigma, this time at Showplace Performance Center. Most of the show remained the same, but with one notable addition, a piece in conjunction with Team 55 Suicide Prevention, written and performed by Paul Crowe. Then in June of the same year, Art for Awareness was given an incredible honor by the CMHA HKPR, the award of Champions of Mental Health, for our work on erasing the stigma and our efforts to further the dialogue on mental health in our community. Our ties with CMHA held strong and fast into the summer of 2014, as work began on our first production to be performed at the Gordon Best Theatre, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. A powerful rock musical featuring a transgendered leading character, skillfully played by AFA's first actor appearing with permission from the Canadian Actors Equity Association, Jeff Schizler. Jeff made quite a splash on the Peterborough Pride Parade float and really helped to keep AFA on the public's radar. Here he is performing The Origins of Love from Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
When the earth was still flat, when clouds made of fire, and mountains stretched out to the sky, sometimes higher. Folks roamed the earth like big rolling caves. They had 2 sets of arms, they had 2 sets of legs, they had 2 faces peering and 1 giant head, so they could watch all around them as they talked while they ran, and they never knew nothing of love was before. The origin of love. The origin of love. The origin of love. The origin of love. Now there were 3 sexes, then 1 little book, like 2 men glued up back to back. For the children of the sun, similar in shape and girth was the children of the earth. They looked like 2 girls rolled up in one. And the there was but some water, one water, one sun. The origin of love. Now the gods grew quite scared of our strength and defiance, and thought said, anything wrong might happen. We can't kill the giants. But Zeus said no, you better let me use my lightning like scissors, like I cut the legs off the whales, and the swords and the lizards, and we battled some boats. We let out a laugh, said split them right down the middle, gonna cut them right up in half, and the sword down, down the road, to dream just split in two. He was looking at me, I was looking at you. Had a way so familiar, but I could not recognize, cause you have blood in your face. I had no blood in my eyes, but I could swear by your expression that the pain down your soul was the same as the one down in mine. Oh, it was the same. It was a straight line down to the heart. We know you love. We never hung around, trying to put ourselves back together. We was making love, making love. It was a cold dark years, a long time ago. From nobody in the door. It was a sad story how we became only two-legged creatures. A story of the orgy of love. Oh yeah, orgy
Musical director Ian Jack says of the show, Hedwig boasts possibly the first popular transgender character to hit the stage. It uses Play-Doh as a conceptual springboard, and it still manages to radiate a universal theme. It's not just about finding your other half, it's about finding yourself. During Hedwig, we connected with Jan Sachuk of Gender Journeys, a program that helps people beginning the process of transitioning. It seemed a perfect fit, and with the continued support from our interested and inclusive audiences, we were able to raise $1,000 from our proceeds for the Gender Journeys program. Just as the buzz from Hedwig was reaching fever pitch around town, AFA was making news from another front. We were doing the impossible. We were bringing to Peterborough, for the very first time, the smash Broadway hit, Rent. Rent deals with a myriad of social topics: homelessness, poverty, AIDS, homosexuality and gender identity, drug abuse, all wrapped up in a beautiful musical about love, friendship, art, and living each moment to the fullest. From Tony Buell's footage of Rent, here is No Day Like Today. Early in the process, we again teamed up with Gender Journeys, and alongside representatives from PARN, your Community AIDS Resource Network, and the Youth Emergency Shelter, they met with the newly selected cast of Rent for an informal Q&A regarding how these issues tackled in Rent still apply today, and how best to tell these important stories on stage.
Will I lose my dignity? Will someone care? Will I wake tomorrow from this nightmare?
Offstage, members of these and other community groups set up information booths in the lobby, as is our custom, so that audience members could gather more information and perhaps continue the discussion after the show. The response from the community was astounding. Showplace Performance Center was packed night after night with very receptive audiences, and at the end of the run, we had raised enough money to present the CMHA, PARN, and YES with checks for $2,500 each. In fact, at our last board meeting, Treasurer Justin Boyd reported that our single biggest expense so far has been our charitable donations, a fact that fills us with more pride and sense of accomplishment than any round of applause or standing ovation ever could. Art for Awareness has recently become incorporated, and as we look forward to what is shaping up to be a promising future, it's important to stop and reflect on how far we've come in the last 2 years, and how it wouldn't have been possible without the support of this community. Peterborough boasts incredible talent, and some of the area's very best actors, dancers, musicians, designers, and technicians have lent their talents to Art for Awareness, and the support we've received from nonprofit organizations around town has been humbling. We sincerely appreciate every person who has supported AFA, from our biggest sponsors to the audience members in the back row, and would like to give everyone the opportunity to weigh in on where they'd like to see Art for Awareness go in the future. Is there a show you'd like to see performed in Peterborough? Perhaps there's a social issue that you feel is underrepresented in our arts community, or maybe a genre that you'd like to see AFA take on. We welcome your suggestions and would ask that you find one of our directors to fill out a feedback form. To stay on top of what we're up to, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or check out our website at www.artfораwareness.net. Thank you for taking the time to celebrate our 2-year anniversary with us. We're excited to see where we'll be in the next 2 years.